If you're like me, then when you hear about a dog being abandoned, your heart just breaks. You start thinking of all of those lonely nights that he spent without a home or anyone to love him. It's enough to bring tears to your eyes, but it gets even worse when you hear about a dog who keeps getting chased away from his home. That's exactly what happened to a lost doggo who kept sneaking into a prison. At first, they just shoot him away, but then they started giving him food. And after some time, they made him an offer that changed his life forever. This is a story of a lost dog who found a home at the most unexpected place. Before we begin, please take some time to subscribe. This will help us a lot. Also, don't forget to like the video. Now let's get started. Our story begins with a four-legged stray dog who had been abandoned by his owners. They didn't want him anymore, so they left him out on the streets. The poor dog couldn't find a home anywhere, and soon he got skinny and dirty. One day he was walking around looking for food when he smelled something delicious. So he started sniffing around, and soon he saw an open window at the back of a building. The dog jumped through the window and found himself inside a prison. At first, the inmates were scared because they thought that this was a guard's tactic to scare them. But soon they realized that it was just a lost dog who needed some food. Some of them had a soft spot for dogs, so they gave him some water and food. After eating, the dog felt much better, and soon the inmates fell in love with him. Every single one of them wanted to have the dog as their pet. One inmate said, "It's not right that he's just sleeping on the floor. We need to give him a bed." Another one said, "And we also need to give him a name." After thinking about it for a while, they all agreed that they would call him Bouncer. He was such a brave dog, even though he was scared and alone. Days went by and the prison became Bouncer's new home. However, he still missed his old owners, the ones who abandoned him. Every time he heard a car passing by, he would run to the window and bark. Maybe his old owners had come back to get him. The inmates knew how sad he was, so they did everything they could to cheer him up. Every evening after they finished dinner, they played with Bouncer. Other times, they would just pet him and tell him that everything was going to be okay. Bouncer was grateful for his new friends. They didn't know anything about his past, so they didn't care that he was dirty and smelly. They loved him no matter what. And Bouncer loved them too. He enjoyed spending his days with them and playing with the other dogs that the inmates had. Soon, Bouncer was no longer a scared and skinny dog. Thanks to the inmates, he gained weight, stopped shaking all the time, and even learned a few tricks. The truth is that the inmates liked the dog so much that they started bringing him toys from their homes. Of course, the guards were suspicious at first, but when they saw that the dog was happy and well taken care of, they didn't say anything. After all, it's not every day that you see a dog hanging out with a bunch of prisoners. As time passed, Bouncer became the favorite dog of all the inmates. Even the most hardened criminals couldn't resist his cuteness. And Bouncer loved them all the same, no matter if they had tattoos all over their bodies or if they were serving a life sentence. To him, they were his family now. Unfortunately, not everyone was happy about Bouncer's presence in the prison. The director of the prison thought that the dog was dangerous and that he could attack someone. He also said that having a dog in a prison was against the rules. So he told the inmates that they had to get rid of Bouncer. Of course, the inmates weren't happy about this decision, but they had to listen to what the director said. They took Bouncer to the main gate of the prison and told him to go find his own way. The dog looked at them sadly, then started walking away. The inmates felt awful. They knew that they couldn't do anything to change the director's mind. So they just watched as Bouncer disappeared into the distance. They said that he had no heart and that he didn't understand that Bouncer was a dangerous dog. However, as time passed, they understood that they had to move on. Bouncer was gone and there was nothing they could do to bring him back. Meanwhile, Bouncer was having a hard time on the streets again. He was hungry and thirsty and he missed his friends at the prison. He tried to go back, but the guards wouldn't let him in. He spent many nights sleeping under bridges and cardboard boxes, trying to keep warm and safe from other animals. One day, Bouncer was walking around the prison when he saw a group of children playing. He approached them and started wagging his tail. The children were scared at first, but then they realized that the dog just wanted to play. They threw a ball and Bouncer fetched it. Then one of the children said, "Hey, why don't you come play with us every day? My dad works at this prison, so we come here every weekend." Bouncer barked happily. He would love to do that. From that day on, Bouncer visited the children every weekend. He played with them, ran around the yard, and got lots of treats. The children loved Bouncer, and so did their parents. They thought that the dog was adorable and that he deserved a good home. One day, one of the fathers said, "I can't believe that someone could abandon such a cute dog. You're lucky that you found us, Bouncer. Otherwise, you would have to live on the streets." Bouncer licked the man's hand and barked happily. He knew that he was lucky. If it hadn't been for the children and their parents, he might still be living under a bridge. The following weekend, Bouncer was playing with the kids when one of the fathers approached the dog. He had a serious look on his face. Bouncer stopped barking and wagging his tail. What had he done wrong now? The man knelt down in front of Bouncer and said, "Do you like your parents?" The dog barked twice, which was his way of saying yes. The man smiled and said, "Well, then these are your new parents." He spent his weekends playing with the children and his weekdays resting in his new doghouse. The inmates were very happy for Bouncer. Even though they missed him, they knew that he was in good hands. They said goodbye to their furry friend and wished him a happy life. As for the prison director, he never forgot about Bouncer. In fact, he started bringing the dog treats from home every day. He still couldn't resist Bouncer's cuteness no matter how much he tried. This story has a happy ending for everyone involved. Bouncer is no longer a stray dog. He has a loving family and plenty of friends. The inmates are doing well in prison, and the prison director is a little less strict thanks to Bouncer's cuteness. What do you think about this story? Let us know in the comments below.